What is up, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of the Anti-Gravity Group podcast. My name is Braden Carlson.
My name is Taylor Jesse.
And my name is Shane, or as you might know me, Postart.
And we are doubling down on the recovery themes. Last week we talked about kind of our craziest recovery stories that we've had in Rocketry. This week we're talking about our favorite recovery gear and kind of doing a little bit of a deep dive on where we stand on like what our thoughts are on recovery gear and certain procedures and stuff like that. So yeah, we're just gonna kind of dive right in. And I started last week, so somebody else is gonna do it. But the first thing we want to touch on here is our favorite Rocketry electronics to use, and I feel like you guys are about to see some repetition here. But we'll you want to start us, Taylor?
Yeah. My preferred electronics to use are perfect flight altimeters, of course, because that's what I'm used. The dumb thing is the main reason is it's because it's what I'm used to, and I've flown them for, I guess, 15 plus years now. They're easy, and I'm used to the 3 beeps, and I have stratologgers, high out 45Ks, mini out, mod, I guess. So, all reliable for sure.
That mod is supposed to be mine, though.
Why?
I just haven't, because you said you were going to trade me for the high out that we have, but it's in Posthart's truck in Idaho.
Wait, so you haven't given me the high out?
No.
Oh, okay. So,
But you haven't given me the mod. We're at a standoff here.
Well, yeah, because you haven't given me the high out.
I know. I'm just working.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of which, have you got a new 3840 yet? While we're talking about things that are given to you.
Yes, thanks for bringing that up. We can check that off another week that Matt has not gotten me a new 3840 case. So thanks for reminding everyone about that.
Wow. That is crazy.
Dang.
It's a weekly update, a new segment on the Anti-Gravity Group podcast.
We need a intro for that. Someone needs to work on that.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Are we gonna go through all of them, or kind of do the go around the table thing?
Yeah, I think we'll kind of do the go around the table thing, but it is for this particular subject going to be very repetitive because, Stratologger is just so easy and nice with the dedicated switch terminal. I love the RRC2, the RRC2 Plus especially, but I do want to try an RRC2L, but we'll get into that here in a minute. But yeah, I mean, any chance I have to fly a Stratologger is the preferred. For a long time I was really against flying like 2 of the same altimeter or even manufacturer, but Taylor just like doubles up on Stratologgers all the time. And the more I think about it, the more I'm like, yeah, this just makes sense. Because with my 54, I even ran into a situation where like I didn't have enough room for an RRC2, which is crazy. And I mean, I definitely would have enough room if I thought about it for a little bit longer, but my caveman Rocketry electronics brain was like, oh, I can't fit this in line with a 9-volt sitting on the same sled surface, so this isn't going to work. So yeah, I've for that reason kind of been considering doubling up on the Stratologgers. And I'm just so flush with them. You know, I have so many.
Yeah, the doubling up altimeters, I've always done that. That started because perfect flights were like the affordable altimeter. I mean that and like I guess like a Transolve, but I never had any of those.
Dude, I don't think people understand how cheap Rocketry electronics have gotten. Like,
I know.
I'm pretty
like,
sure my first mod I bought used for like $95.
Yeah, and when the high out 45K came out, that was like a big deal because it was kind of like it was the stripped down mod, and it was available for like 70 or something, or 75.
I think mods were 110 or 115.
Yeah, that was just as cheap as it got. There really wasn't anything under $70 or whatever.
Right.
So,
for people who weren't around for that era, mod is the perfect flight. It stands for mini out with deployment. And when we say mini, they're what, like as long as an RRC3? They're like not quite that long, I guess, but they're not very small.
It's a little bit longer, maybe an inch longer than a Stratologger. I don't know.
Right. So that was kind of the predecessor to the Stratologger, and functionality is pretty much identical.
Yeah, they
Then there
basically
was the
just kept making it.
SL100.
Yeah, they basically just kept making it smaller and retained like the exact same features, maybe adding, toning up the data stuff a little bit. I mean, I wouldn't know. I never look at it, but
And it proceeded to get cheaper, which is phenomenal. And it's
yeah,
not really, honestly, not worth looking at, because
yeah, I don't think
it
it's
said
super great, right? I mean,
the altitude is fine, but you can just listen to it if you want the
yeah,
altitude. But yeah, like the acceleration, because it's just speed versus time. It just kind of calculates it, but the barometer's not super accurate when the rocket's just sitting on the pad from the data that I've seen. So that's why it showed my 5-inch Punisher on the M4500 went like Mach 2.9 or something like that. I was like, nah, that's not even close to correct.
but yeah, those were the affordable altimeters. So that's just what I had two of, and that's what I flew together. And people were like, "Don't do that," but I'm like, I just did it, and it's always worked. So not that I haven't also flown different altimeters since then, like together, like, but yeah, I'm also a fan of the MissileWorks RC2 Plus.
They're just so nice. What are they, $49 or something
Yeah,
like that?
the only to
Right
me that's
around
the
there.
real disposable one. I feel like I'm not.
Right.
I'm really not afraid to lose those. The only thing
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
why-
like is there's no dedicated switch terminal. And that's
Right.
the only gripe I have on it. Otherwise, I'd fly a lot more of them.
Right. Postart, weigh in here.
It's the exact same thing on my list: Stratologger CF and RC2 Plus.
I feel like it is worth noting, of course, here that if you're listening to this podcast and you're like trying to get into dual deploy, we wish you good luck acquiring a Stratologger. So if you're listening to this and you're picking from one of those two recommendations for a cheap altimeter, just go order an RRC2 Plus or RRC2L. You need the LCD screen for the L, but yeah, the Stratologger is difficult to get a hold of. They don't make a lot of them, and whenever they get listed as in stock, they sell out usually pretty quickly.
I've been
Well
toying
within
with
an
the
hour.
Yeah. I'm kind of a fan of the Raven now. I've only just recently started flying a Raven. I would like to get a blue Raven. I have the Raven 4 right now. And that's for anyone that's not familiar with the Raven, that's featherweight electronics. And it's an accelerometer based altimeter that has a barometer and standard dual deploy plus two extra outputs, and you can stage with it and do lots and lots of stuff. But it's very small and easy to like the interface to like set it up on the computer's really easy. So I like that for
The
for
blue
an
Raven's
altimeter
even
that can
easier.
do. Yeah, that's kind
You
of
just
why
do it from
I'm
your
interested
phone,
in it.
yeah. One of those just got delivered to my house.
You got another one?
Try it again.
Oh, I see.
Yes. I guess I announced that project to Patreon, but I haven't talked about it publicly on the channel yet, so we'll sweep that conversation under the rug for now. But we'll get into it later. But yeah, I got another. It's so nice though, and especially if you get the power perch, because it's got this tiny little battery, and it converts the terminals to standard terminals, or you can get the additive simple circuit. That's what you use, right?
Yeah.
But that kind of defeats the purpose size wise.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna probably go away from it, especially in like the Sumo, because it's taking up a lot of room. And I'm like, we have just taken a tiny altimeter and made it the same size as like a full size kind of like an RC3 or something. So
Plus, the power perch has a built-in mag switch, which is pretty cool. We don't use switches around here a lot. We twist and tie wires, twist and tape, twist and twist if you're Taylor.
I do like the idea of the mag switch. If I'm
It's
gonna
so
use a
nice.
switch,
It was cool.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Hold it up. Boom.
so yeah,
The
that's
Raven
my
makes a
vote
lot
for
of fun noises.
that's my vote for an accelerometer based altimeter.
Yeah, I agree. It's not one I've flown successfully, so I don't have a lot to say about it. I had one that's in the ground in the vicinity of FAR with the rest of my Arcus.
It was funny when I flew the Raven and the Sumo for the first time. That flight had a Raven and an RC2. So I'm just like, it was just not having a perfect flight altimeter in it for some reason made me be like, oh, is this going to work? Like, there's no reason to think that. It's just being used to having at least one in every rocket. And you're like, oh, this is going to, the beeps sound different. Just irrational thought.
Yeah, we've been like trained to have a positive response, like a Pavlovian reaction to the 3 beeps.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's the egg timers like Matt had where it beeps 4 times for continuity
Yeah.
and 3 is like no apogee charge or something like that. I was like, dude, there's no way. I would forget. She'd be like, 3 beeps, it's good.
Yeah, I did not understand. Was it the egg timer? The one Matt flew.
Yeah, I think it was quarks.
Yeah. I did not understand that. But I will say, after flying the Raven, I am kind of a fan of those beeps. I finally understand those now. And so and it gives it to you right off the bat. You don't have to listen to any of the BS leading up to it.
That is the biggest problem with Missile Works. It's like a 45-second dead pause from the point that you turn the battery on. It gives you the battery voltage, and then just it's quiet for so long that you start to think something went wrong.
Every time, even though I know, every time I think, did my battery come unplugged or unhooked or something? No, it just takes that long. The Raven, you turn it on, and it instantly gives you the continuity. It's just like beep beep boop boop.
The Missile Works 2 does the power saving mode, where after a while it'll stop beeping 3 times.
Yeah.
And beeps once, like every 30 seconds.
Goes to sleep. Yeah,
It scares me every time.
Yeah.
That's like I'm at the away zone, I'm getting ready to walk back to the car, and then all of a sudden it like changes, and then I'm like, oh no. And then I remember, oh, that's just what it does.
Yeah, I had a mild panic when I flew the Honest John because I had just wired up 5 igniters and it started doing it. And I kind of I was so in the moment on getting all the motors set up properly that I was like, wait, what happened? What's going on? I had to sit there for a second. I was like, oh, right. It just does that. It's fine, probably. But then you're like, is it though? Is it actually fine? Because this rocket weighs 50 pounds and has 5 motors in it. So electronics failure is not what we want. And I did find out that issues with recovery with that rocket are not fun. But yeah, I guess that means we should venture on to our next topic of discussion then, because that's electronics we're curious about flying. So does anybody want to start on that one, or should I go for it?
I can go. I'm curious about telemetrum stuff. I've never flown any. It looks a little more difficult as far as setup and stuff, or just more involved, I guess. It's just sort of not really what I'm looking for, but there's some features that I'm interested in, like on the I guess just the classic telemetrum, and then if you had the right type of rocket, the Telemega would be really cool, or Easy Mega or whatever.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
I've taken to the Easy Mini too, actually. I've never flown one still, but they are tiny, and they have a dedicated switch terminal. So they are $80.
Yeah, I guess the point I was trying to say, or what I was trying to say, is they're not my go-to, but they have uses that are really specific that I'm interested in, I guess is the best way to put that.
Yeah, the telemetrum itself is very appealing. Just having the integrated GPS and deployment control is very nice. And I know of the GPS systems, I feel like I see the least amount of failures with the telemetrum stuff. It is ham restricted. And I'm studying to get my ham license vaguely. My schedule has gotten ridiculously busy, but you can technically buy this stuff without a ham license. You just can't use it legally. But it is something I'm working on because their GPS stuff is really nice and very well proven. But that kind of brings me to my first one, is one that I'm really curious about. And I'm actually going to buy one for my dad here soon, the featherweight GPS system. because I had him send back the MissileWorks stuff that I had left with him and sold that so that I could get him the featherweight one because it's just so much simpler, and they just released the Android app. And the big issue with the MissileWorks T3 was that it doesn't have its own dedicated app. So you have to just download a generic GPS receiver Bluetooth app. And yeah, it's just kind of So I am curious about that because that is licenseless GPS, and I have seen a lot of people have a lot of success with the featherweight GPS stuff. It's also pretty reasonably priced. I think like $365 or something like that.
It's pretty reasonable, and the app looks really easy to use. I've never used one personally, but I'm planning on getting one this year. I think that's what I've decided on after weighing all the options. And I don't know if it's available yet, but they're like, is the app the same app that the
Blue Raven
uses?
Yeah. So that's dual integrated. Super nice.
So that's super cool that you can just like monitor the whole thing through one app.
Yeah, I kind of want to get one too, but without incriminating myself, as far as I know, I may have already purchased some GPS stuff and spent that budget that I could have used.
He's just going to have all of the GPS stuff.
Yeah, I might have something I can't legally turn on, but am technically allowed to own, we'll say.
After reading about it, I think it was last week, I got really curious about I think it's pronounced silicdine. I'm not entirely certain, but the Fluctus. Yeah.
I have great news on that front. There's one on the way.
Oh, yeah.
Keep your eyes peeled for the new Wildman YouTube channel Fluctus instructional video. Tim sent one to me so that we can do a setup thing. So yeah, I'm super curious about it too. I'm super excited to give it a try. I'm kind of thinking about putting it in the Nike Smoke, since I need to build that electronics bay anyway.
Yeah, I'm really curious about that. There's just not a lot of info, or it looks like real world use yet. So it's one of those things that you're just gonna have to see how it works.
One thing I will say that like it's already fallen behind the competition in one manner, that it doesn't have any phone app compatibility.
Yeah.
So
you gotta,
I mean, whatever. I'll bring my laptop. It's fine, but it's just if there was a phone app, even if it was a wired app, just a USB-C app that plugs into the ground station like it's a laptop, and they develop something for Android or iOS, Android, please, please, please. It would be so much more convenient. The world is in our pocket now, and anything that's not associated with a phone is like annoying to to some point, I guess. But yeah, the 10-kilometer ceiling for functionality for the barometer means you can't go over 65,000 feet with it, which isn't a problem for me at the moment, but for something that has off-axis detection and good GPS and all like these programs, it has 4 aux outputs that can control servos. Like you could use it for active stabilization.
I saw it had low voltage sensor input, so you could put hook up pressure transducers and servos and stuff. And
right, and I think it's got 3 total outputs for pyro, so you have one that you can use for staging or whatever. So that's a lot of capability for an altimeter that can't fly very high. I mean, 65,000 feet is high, right? But when you look at people that are using that kind of stuff, Jim Jarvis is a great example. That's a real low flight for Jim Jarvis.
It's not a BlackRock flight type of unit.
Ironically, their test flight of it was at BlackRock, but yeah, it is very well capable for 90% of the hobby, but those features are kind of targeted at that other 10% that are going to need more than 65,000 feet. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's still super cool, and it's $300 with the base station, right? So
yeah, I mean, it's a good deal.
Yeah,
it's like almost Telemega levels of capable for $100 less than just the Telemega. If you buy a Telemega and the ground station setup, like a TeleBT starter set, you're in what, $650? So for less than half, you can have a fully functioning pyro event controlled GPS tracking flight computer. It's a pretty good deal. I'm excited to play with it.
When I read through the instructions, the one thing that did catch my eye that I thought was pretty cool, even though it doesn't have an app, it's like if when you get into the thing on the laptop, once you get like the rocket is landed or whatever, you can bring up, I think, a QR code that you can scan with your phone that
for Google Maps.
Yeah,
it's super sick.
Oh, that's cool.
Cool.
That right there, I was like, because like I said, the big issue with the MissileWorks stuff is it didn't have a dedicated app. Every app that we could find, it was like, oh, here's the arrow and it's showing you this on a map, but you couldn't just copy the coordinates. That's all I wanted, was to copy the coordinates so I could paste it in Google Maps. This is literally the only functionality I want from GPS. I don't need to see where my rocket is on a map relative to where I'm standing. I don't care. I just need to be able to, well, I guess I do need to see it on a map, but I want it to be Google Maps. That's the problem. I want to just have the blue line so I can. Argonia is a great example because it has all those roads mapped. So it'll be like, take this, take this, take this, and then, you're walking from there. But so not being able to copy paste the coordinates and load into Google Maps is one of the most frustrating parts that MissileWorks T3, which is why I sold both setups I had, one for me and one for my dad.
I think Featherweight is it has coordinates and the arrow. Isn't that right?
I actually don't know. I saw somebody I brought up that you can't do that on those apps, and I was asking if you could do that with the Featherweight app, but somebody was like, well, you can just take a screenshot of it and use the iPhone's ability to copy and paste text from the screenshot, which Android phones can do as well. And that's fine. That's like a solution, but it's not the one I want. I want the little box that automatically, it's like, copy it. Once you have a packet where the coordinates are staying the same, box pops up, boom, copy it, boom, paste it, boom, rocket.
But if you have an arrow that's telling you where to go, how is that different than Google Maps?
Shut up, that's how.
The only thing I want from Google Maps is if you can, like, put the stuff in to map the flight, because I think it looks cool.
Do you want to know the real reason I specifically want it in Google Maps?
Why?
So that I can load it on Android Auto in my car. So I can just hop in my car, and my rocket's destination is on my infotainment screen.
Yeah, but if you like, for example, so we'll use Argonia example. There's like 4 roads that you're going to drive on.
Yeah, and
and then it's just going to tell you to walk into a field.
Yep. Well, but imagine how cool that would be if it was on my infotainment screen, not just my phone.
I mean, yeah, that would be pretty cool.
It's pretty neat. It's pretty neat.
I'm sold.
All right. Well, I think that kind of rounds. I mean, there's nothing. I don't mean to offend anybody, but I pretty much have zero interest in any of the egg timer stuff.
Yeah. Same. Although a lot of people love it, so
I know it's great. A lot of people. If you have the patience to assemble that stuff, I applaud you. First of all, and I know it's weird. It's a stupid thing for me to be like. There's a couple of people that are like, yeah, send me the kit, give me $5, $10, I'll assemble it and ship it to you. For some reason, that just doesn't sit right with me. Even though every altimeter at the end of the day is just some guy putting it together, I don't like with MissileWorks and Perfect Flight. Obviously, there's decades of historic development, and for all I know, the people that are assembling these egg timer kits for people could be electrical engineers or people that are actually building out PCBs for company X. But for some reason, it's just like, it seems like a lot of extra steps for no real benefit. But
I mean, it's a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, and there is I think it's called the Quasar, which is, it's like features wise comparable to a Blue Raven, if I recall correctly. And it even has an app. Somebody sent me a video of them using the egg timer app to ground test a rocket, and just like press a button and it counts down from 10 and fires it, and that's cool and all. But
that's
if I'm
sick.
if I'm going for those features, I'm just gonna like ball it out, work a few extra hours, and get a Blue Raven. I just love it so much. It's so tiny. And I think a lot of it is that I was so fascinated with the Raven as a child, but like $160 altimeter was so unbelievably unattainable.
Yeah, same.
So now I'm like, I'm a grown up. I can have all the Ravens I want.
I remember like just dreaming about getting the Parrot when that first came out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Before the Raven, there was the Parrot.
Yeah, wasn't it like super skinny? Like you fit in like an 18 millimeter tube or something like that. I have to say too, I had like no interest in 38 minimum diameter or smaller again because I was intolerable when I did the i500. But like, I'll do it again if I get the featherweight altimeters for the Blue Raven. That's the one part I hated. I was like, I'm not building tiny electronics bays again. Look, these are done.
It does make it a lot easier.
I200 altitude contest.
You could. Yeah.
I205.
There you go.
All right. Well, I think that pretty much rounds off the electronics conversation. Yeah. So up next on our list is shock cord. We have Kevlar versus Nylon. I want somebody to weigh in on this because I need somebody else to form my opinion for me.
So I'm interesting. I have it makes sense in my head, but basically it doesn't always follow this rule. But Kevlar for fiberglass rockets and nylon for like paper or phenolic. That's typically what I do, and it's not always on purpose. It just feels right, you know.
I was gonna say, now that I think about it, I think that's how all of my rockets are too. But I never like strategically planned that.
I only recently thought of that, but it's like when you're building the rocket, you're just like, yeah, this is a nylon rocket. But then recently, I was like, wait a minute. It's like the paper rockets, even if they're glassed or whatever. But you know, that type of rocket uses nylon. I think it's because.
I think it's a subconscious, this rocket was expensive, so the shock cord needs to be a thing for me. Or maybe it's just that fiberglass, I'm like, yeah, I mean, like everything's all sleek and modern and refined. I can't just be putting nylon in here.
I think for me, the fiberglass rocket feels like such a, like, you know, durable kind of invincible thing that I feel like the Kevlar shock cord goes with it.
Yeah,
now, like
I can see that.
Like my level 3 rocket was a modified Extreme Wildman, and it came with all the like shock cord and stuff, and so it was just blue water tubular nylon, and so I used it, and it's like I've flown it, I don't know, a dozen times now or something like that, somewhere close to that, and it's super crispy.
I'm kind of curious about Postar's take on this because he kind of operated outside of the era of tubular nylon transitioning to Kevlar being popular. Yeah. Like he came into it when Kevlar was already popping.
I mean, for cardboard rockets, I pretty much always use just nylon, but most of the time with glass stuff, I'll just do a Kevlar leader that at least clears the airframe and then do nylon for the rest of it. Just because in my head, I'm worried that if the airframe spins around too much, somehow it's going to like drag on the nylon and cut it, you know?
I don't. Tubular nylon's pretty hard to cut, but
yeah, I know.
Like the reason all of my stuff had tubular nylon growing up was because REI had it, and it was like back then like 18 cents a foot or something like that. I used to ride my bike there so I could get a shock cord.
I used to buy the I can't remember, actually it was Fuddrucker on the Rocketry forum had giant spool of surplus military spec.
Oh, the green nylon stuff.
Well, this was like the white with the yellow stitching.
Oh yeah.
He also had some of the green stuff later, I think, but he'd sell it by the 100-foot like soft pack, like shipping envelope full, and for like a nothing. And so I would just buy those. And now you can't even get that surplus nylon. I've looked. It's all
Yeah,
gone.
I really don't think I even adopted Kevlar until I built my 3-inch Punisher. Because like even my level 3 rocket was nylon because it was just shock cord that was already in my Mad Dog that I used most of for my cert. I had done like Paw starts talking about the 1-inch wide Kevlar strap as a leader a bunch of times. But other than that, I was just like, I don't, it's not worth the extra money to me
Yeah,
to
I
buy
was
this
always like,
expensive shock cord.
yeah, I was trying to save money, and it's like it's not making it. It's not going to make the rocket do anything better. I mean, eventually you might have to change the shock cord, but like it takes a long time usually.
Well, and what's interesting too is I feel like because Kevlar has become so standard, some people have like an aversion to it. Like it's weaker, and just for those people, if you're concerned about the strength of tubular nylon, for one, my Honest John has 9/16 tubular nylon in it, but I think the more noteworthy one is the fact that the 12-inch Punisher has 1-inch nylon in it.
Yeah,
Because
you see people
Mm-hmm.
with their 12-inch rockets using like seatbelt strap and stuff. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that necessarily, but like I feel confident that the 1 inch is fine, but I don't want it to be crispy.
yeah, so that's why we replace the leaders that goes on the electronics bay basically with every flight because they get torched because we have
Although at this
a
point,
18
we should
gram
just buy
charge in
Kevlar
there.
for that part,
Yeah, I think I was kind of thinking the same thing.
or
But
just get Nomex sleeves for it.
yeah, that's probably a better call, honestly.
A lot cheaper.
Because I don't, yeah, and I don't know what Kevlar do we use for that task. I guess that's a stupid question too, right? Because that tubular nylon is not nearly as strong as tubular Kevlar. Even the 1-inch stuff probably has a way lesser breaking strength than like half-inch tubular Kevlar. But I just did the opposite of what I assumed the scared of nylon people are doing, where I was like, well, that's smaller in diameter, so it's not good.
But nylon also has stretch though, so it has that working for it. Whereas Kevlar doesn't really stretch; it kind of just breaks if you shock load it too much.
Yeah, but which is like really hard to do. Um, I see a lot of people, and I fell victim to this too. Remember how big the shock cord was in my 3-inch Punisher initially? The bottom still has it, like the 3/8 tubular from Wildman or whatever, or maybe Missile Works.
Yeah,
Also, shout out Missile Works for having really nice tubular Kevlar. I feel like that goes under the radar a good bit that they sell
yeah, they
tubular
do.
Kevlar, but it's super
Uh,
nice.
One advantage of using Kevlar over nylon is that you can use effectively a smaller size for the same like strength rating, so it packs
Right.
better. Um,
Right, that's what
so
I was
there's a
getting
lot
at.
of
Is my 3-inch Punisher now has 1/4-inch Kevlar in the nose, and it's
yeah,
like
me too.
it's still like 800-pound brake strength or something like that.
1200, I think.
Yeah, you're never gonna hit that,
Not on a main deployment.
or
You
an
you could
optimal
hit
deployment, I would say.
yeah, you could hit it if
Yeah.
you were like if you had a really fast apogee with a like charge with the drogue, where the like weathercocked a bunch and it's just kind of hauling. But yeah, most of the time you're not gonna see that kind of force.
But yeah, I think in my mind, in general, it's like it's usually a toss up. It's whether or not I feel like spending the extra money. And yeah,
Oh, the other the other thing, like with a cardboard rocket that's not glassed or something, I think I tend to go nylon because like it's going to be harder to zipper with the nylon.
yeah, you
It's
want the
like
extra thickness.
yeah. So
Yeah.
where if I would use 1/4 inch or Kevlar or whatever because this is a light rocket, like that's gonna. I mean, I guess you could just still put a leader on it, but I'm usually going for simplicity on a rocket like that, where I could just take the nylon straight to the eye bolt or whatever.
Right.
So that's just another thing that would make me go toward nylon.
What we will say in general, though, is for high power uses, we pretty much all advocate against using elastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although my binder design Excel from 1993 has elastic in it. I used the elastic that was in the kit from 1993 when I built the rocket. It's got the decal and everything.
Just for the haters.
Yeah,
right?
all of it. That kit is 100% authentic build. Everything that was used to build it is older than I am. And there's something
glue?
to be said about it. What?
The
Yeah,
glue?
I sourced some Z-Poxy from Hobbytown in 1997. No, okay, fine, not the glue. But yeah, all right. Well, Taylor added an addendum to the lineup here: knots versus sewn loops. I'll open up with this one and say that I have not even once ever considered using sewn loops. Like
I haven't either.
Yeah, I've
I'm
never
just like-
used it.
I can see why it's convenient, but like I've never had enough of a thought while tying a knot to be like, wow, I hate this so much that I want the sewn loops. For some
Yeah.
reason in my head, that seems like a potential failure point.
I know people say it's way stronger though, but I've never, until I have a failure at the knotted point, I don't care. But I definitely understand why people are into it, so I'm not going to hate on people for that.
Yeah, I mean,
If I had a sewing machine, would probably sew my own, to be honest. But I'm not going to buy one that's pre-sewn because I'm like, I like to be able to choose my links, not
Right.
necessarily just go with
Yeah.
like 20, 25, 30, whatever with the pre-made stuff. Which I know there's some people that are like, oh, we'll make you a custom one, but I'm like, I'll just buy the raw stuff and knot it. Like, it's fine.
yeah. And I mean, I will say, like, I've had a couple One Bad Hawk harnesses. I bought one for my 54 at Airfest when Taylor forgot to bring my shock cord. And then I adopted a couple of them in a big parts buyout for rocket stuff that I got a couple years ago. And they're nice. Like, if you like the sewn loops, then having the advantage of them being there and sewn by somebody who knows what they're doing, absolutely go for it. But in my case in specific, using it was not so enlightening that I was like, I need to do this now. I like tying my knots and back wrapping them with electrical tape. It works great.
Yep.
Any thoughts,
Yeah.
Paul Start?
I mean, like I said, I've never used a sewn loop at all. I have never had any that come with it. I think it might be kind of nice because you can just throw it on a quick link and not really have to worry about it and take it off whenever you want.
Didn't you get a gift certificate at Midwest Power?
I did. Yeah,
So-
for
You
I
haven't
think
used
it's
that
for
yet?
One Bad Hawk.
It is,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That reminds me, I have an Aeropack gift certificate from that, and I have no idea where it is. So I wonder if I call it Jackie, will just take my word for it.
I know that I've got both right over here, but
He's like, it's all I got.
Yeah.
I know exactly where those are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you should get it. Is that the thing that I really would like a sewn loop for, if I was going to pick one thing, I think would be for like the parachute placement. One towards the end of one other for like a nose cone situation. But then you run into the issue again where you're like, oh, well, that's not where I want it. And if somebody was
I
like, okay, we'll make it for you, pick how far you want it from the nose cone, I'd be like, I don't know, man. I got to eyeball it first to see.
Yeah, I know. I'm
see
like,
where I
I'm
like it.
yeah.
I don't know where it's about. Oh, it needs to be here, so the payload section is here or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
I always lay it out on the ground and be like, about right
Yeah,
here.
you got to think about it. Yeah.
Because I think maybe they come with a loop like a third of the way down, which for me is just too far. But it's like I couldn't tell someone, 5 feet, unless I would have to have my own cord and lay it out and measure it because my
Right.
brain just doesn't work like that.
Mhm.
Right. Okay, well, let's move on to the next one then. I think there's going to be a bit of a disagreement between me and Taylor here, and that's how much shock cord to use in a rocket and why.
Okay, well, I just want to start off by saying we compromised on the shot cord lengths on the 2 giant rockets we built, and it's been fine. So,
All right, well, Taylor wins, I guess. We'll just move on to the next one.
no, you can explain yourself.
So the whole reason I used really long shot cords for a long time was that there's that general rule of thumb that used to get thrown around where you should take your body tube diameter number of inches, multiply that by 10, and use that number as the amount of feet you need for shock cord. So a 4-inch rocket needs 40 feet, right? And that was kind of the thing I stuck with. But when I was young, I didn't do a lot of research, and I did see some people land on the same conclusion that you needed that amount in each section. So like, I had dual deploy 4-inch rockets that had 80 feet of shock cord, and I'll just be honest about it. All right, I'll own this. I just think it looks cool when a rocket has a ton of shock cord. I like the amount of space it's taking up there in the sky. It's super cool. You get a nice parachute on that thing. You're like, wow, look at that.
It's like the diesel truck guys with their mirrors out.
Right.
It's like how much room it takes up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I've obviously pulled back on that. Now I kind of do the same rule of thumb, but across both sections, and just bias a little extra length to the fin can section versus the main.
Yeah.
But with so much stuff being head end, like you're not going to fit very much shock cord up there in the first place. So
yeah, I do like a decent, well, you know, not according to Braden's scale, but I like a good amount of shock cord in the drogue side. But it's like the main side, you really don't need a lot. I mean, you need just enough for it to like have a soft deployment, you know, like depending on your charge size. But really, the rockets should be falling slow enough that it shouldn't really be that big of an issue. You don't want to make it super short, but if it's too long, you end up with that deal where like the parachute opens and the whole rocket is like falling forever and then just like hits the end of the shock cord really hard.
Right. And it kind of depends on your whole recovery setup. Like with the Arcus, we have a 10-foot section to the mains because there's deployment bags, which I know we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But yeah, I think a lot of it too was that I hadn't like yet discovered the joy of soft brakes when I was making shock cords that long. So it was just like, it's a little bit of a remnant of that teenage rocket nostalgia where I'm just like, look how cool it is with the shock cord super long. And I know a lot of like East Coast people do it because of trees and stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. If you're flying with somewhere with trees, then yeah, might as well make those things 80 feet long so you can just pull it down from the tree.
Yeah,
hopefully. But
I remember one time my dad flew his 4-inch Dark Star at Tripoli Houston launch, and same thing. He had like, it might have been 90 feet of shock cord in that rocket. I can't remember, but whoever was the LCO was like, "Oh my god, what is? Why do you have so much shock cord in there?"
Of course, I've also seen like it would have missed the tree or the power line if it didn't have way too much shock cord, but it just drapes it all over, like right in the middle. You're like, oh, the rocket touched down 100 feet this side, but then it all just fell on it.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Beggars can't be choosers.
I'm not really too sure where I like came across this, or even if it's just something that I started doing, but I've always done like 5-ish times the length of the airframe. I don't know why, but
yeah, that begs the question,
seems reasonable.
Taylor, where do you get your overall shock cord lengths? Do you just make them up?
Well, I think I got. No, I think
he's like, yeah.
I think I got, I got some input from probably somewhere on the internet when I was a teenager, but then I sort of have a scale. Basically, drogue side is 25 to 35 feet, and then the
just no matter
side,
what.
Well, until it gets to like dumb big rocket, but up to like, I don't know, like 6-inch or something.
You know what? I really, for people that are still listening, if you're watching this on YouTube, I really want to know what like how you come to the length of the shock cords for your rockets.
So, basically, it starts at some of them even low, like my like a small cardboard rocket that happens to be dual deploy, like my 3-inch fusion weighs like 2.5 pounds. I think there's only like 20 feet in the drogue, and then 12 feet in the main.
Yeah, there honestly might be less than that in my 4-inch Little John, but it's just because I had a bunch of pieces of shock cord that
And like
a friend
the
had
head
given
and
to me.
stuff, those are usually like, depending on the diameter, 12 to 15 feet. But yeah, drogue 25 to 35. That's just what it is.
Alrighty then.
Fair
Now,
enough.
on like a 7.5-inch rocket, I might go to like 45.
I think that's about what's in my Hojo. The top is short just because I knew it was very compact, the area I had for packing, which now I have a little more wiggle room because of the deployment bag setup. But, again, we don't need to get into what happened with that situation. But yeah, I mean, I guess 90% of the time, the 20 to 35 foot range is going to be good. It's just really funny to use it as a blanket statement. But I guess it's only funny to me because I have this general rule of thumb that's also just nonsense I read on the Rocketry forum when I was like 14.
Yeah, that's one
There's
of those
no
things.
right or wrong
Yeah.
answer here. Just don't use like 4 feet. I've seen
To
some
me,
wildly short ones.
Yeah. To me, 25 to 35 is like the sweet spot where it's long enough so it's not going to like slam the end from the ejection charge, but it's also not just like going to tangle in itself or something. The main side, that doesn't. I guess we already talked about that. It doesn't matter so much, but yeah. If you,
Yeah, I'm going to build
I
a
think
big
as long as you
dumb-
keep it under 50 for the drogue side for a normal size rocket, like not like like 6-inch or smaller, I guess. Then I will not make fun of you.
Dude,
If
I'm
you
going to
don't
build
live on
a meme rocket with like 150 feet of shot cord in each section and like a 200-foot streamer as the drogue.
So I went to I don't know when that would have been. Anyway, I went to a launch in Argonia. Seems recently. I don't know. They found maybe Coop or someone found a 3-inch Punisher that had came a ballistic from Airfest that was behind where the away cell would have been by a couple hundred yards or something. They brought it back and it was just completely filled with shot cord. They're like, well, that's why it came in ballistic. It was just like all shot cord, and so there was
all shot cord.
All shot cord.
Yeah, and literally they took the shot cord and stretched it out, and they're like, look how much was in here, and just kept walking and walking and walking all the way down the range, because they're like, Taylor, you need to see this. How much shot cord do you think is in here? I was like, I don't know. Why? And they're like, it's all shot cord.
Well, the bad news is that person's rocket came in ballistic, but the good news is now they know, and now they just have enough shot cord for like 8 rockets. Was it Kevlar?
Yeah,
It probably cost
But it
as
was
much
like-
as the kit.
it was too big of Kevlar. It was like 3/8, and it was just jammed in there. I don't know how much that must have been, like 75 feet.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's like $150.
Jesus.
All right. Well, we all live and learn, right? Okay, let's move on. Eye bolts versus U bolts is another one that Taylor dropped in, and for some reason, I don't know. U bolts only go in big rockets in my mind.
Or
Yeah.
eye nuts, I guess. At some point, I don't know when this was, I switched to straight U-bolts. Because you can get the tiny ones too. So I kind of just like U-bolts because I don't have to worry about getting a forged one or whatever. They just...
There is a yeah, that
Do
is actually super nice.
That's
Forged
fair.
eye bolts are
I
expensive.
think that's why I started, because I would
Yeah.
just go and get them at the hardware store, and then I didn't want to pay big money for the forged eye bolts. But I'm sort of interested in, for maybe certain type of rockets using eye nuts. I've never used an eye nut, but I'm
I
interested.
ordered some and then kind of backed off on that idea because I was just like, I feel like unless I just destroy this thing with Loctite, it's gonna have a real good chance of
Yeah,
threading
I only
back
want to
off.
use it for a minimum diameter rocket, to be honest.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
But
There is
yeah, it is
also
scary.
what's worth considering here is that you use a single rod for your electronics base, so it makes a lot of sense for you to use U-bolts, whereas we have two rods, so we just have that hole in the middle that's open and perfect to slam a quarter 20 eye bolt in, which is why 90% of my stuff has it, because I just like goes right in the middle hole. It's perfect. It's
Makes
easy.
sense, because no matter what, the stuff usually comes with a hole in it, or if you cut it yourself, it's going to have a hole in it. Whereas it, doesn't always come with outside holes.
Yeah. So I mean that's kind of where I landed. I ended up finding out like Granger has pretty cheap forged eye bolts, and the Idaho one always had like 80 of them in stock. I want to say at one point they were like $1.80 a piece or something like that for quarter 21s.
Wow,
And
that's
they
really
were
good.
flanged too, which was really nice. So you just slam a nut on the back and go. But yeah, like McMaster and Amazon, if you have enough foresight to order them ahead of time, they are pretty cheap. But if you do what I usually do and forget that I need it and have to go to D&B or whatever or local hardware store, you wind up paying like $9 if you even find one. Like a lot of hardware stores just don't even have it.
I've bought a couple of them that were like $10. I don't know. It was some situation where I needed an eye bolt. Like I couldn't use a U-bolt. I don't know. Maybe like a nose cone.
Right. Yeah, I refused to pay for one time. And I went to my buddy's house that TIG welds, and I was like, can you weld this stainless steel eye bolt shut for me? Oh, hey, Nigel's here. A present for the
Hi,
video
Nigel.
viewers. Okay. Yeah, I mean, U-bolts or eye bolts. I mean, I use both of them. Just the U-bolts just usually go on big rockets. Also, for some reason, I'm like trained to have two U-bolts on the top centering ring of a big rocket and almost never use both.
It worked out well on the V2 for the motor extraction.
come along.
fiasco.
Yeah, that's what it's for. Yeah. Motor removal.
Yeah.
I should have told that story on the fails one. We'll have to revisit that for the podcast sometime.
Yeah, I should have videoed that whole experience.
Yeah,
It was
that would have been
intense.
great. But yeah, we'll talk about that on a later episode, because that's a good story and it could take a while.
I've never used U-bolts, but like you were saying, in my head it's only for like 6-inch and up, and I've never built anything that big. But other than that,
Yet.
I've always just used yet.
I just throw quarter 20 U-bolts on everything.
Yeah, me
That's
too for
fair.
a while. I have a 3-inch
Like my-
rocket somewhere with a
my
38.
My 3-inch Punisher, has my single rod in the middle, and the U-bolt just goes over it like that.
I think part of the reason I like the eye bolts too is like that just looks so gaudy. It's like you're taking up so much space there for no reason. What are you doing?
Okay.
You could fill that
Sorry.
space with another 40 feet of shock cord, Taylor. What are you thinking?
Yeah, true.
All right, let's move on to the next topic. We got on the list deployment bags.
D-bags.
I have to,
Oh,
People used to throw around D-bags a
Yeah.
lot. I don't think they realized what they were saying.
I think we should bring it back. That's kind of like how Postart and I, every time we're talking about our tool bags, we pause. So we're like, can you hand me that tool bag? We'll just start doing that
Hey,
with
Brayden,
D-bags.
give me that D-bag.
Did you pack the parachute in the D-bag? Oh. Grab that D-bag. We'll start throwing that one at Matt with the 12-inch Punisher. I still like calling the deployment bag for that one the trash can, though, because
trash
it just
can,
looks like
yeah.
it.
yeah.
I mean, it really is the trash can, but
Did we use the...
uh,
Oh, no, we didn't. I'm so dumb. I was like, did we use the trash can on the Arcus? The one that had two different sheets, and the whole reason I'm obsessed with deployment bags now? Like, I was almost there for this because of the 12-inch Punisher, but now that like I have bought a deployment bag and I got to watch it work,
was that
like-
your first one?
yeah, like that was the first time. That's the first time I bought one. I had a Rocket Man one that I got with a Rocket Man chute at some point, but I never used it. But now I'm just like, everything needs a deployment bag all of the time.
It's
I
so
still
sick.
I still haven't I still don't fully understand the concept of using one without free bagging it, without the nose cone coming off.
What do
That's
you
not
mean?
something we need to dive into either, but like
Oh,
the
okay.
pilot chute setup. I'm
That's
still
how I am used to doing it.
okay. Well, you have to give me a visual representation
Okay.
at some point because I still am not following completely. I think I get it, but I'm just like, I don't see.
It's like a normal parachute. It's literally just like a normal parachute.
All right. Well, listen, I'm dumb, but yeah,
Parachute comes out, pilot chute pulls bag off of big chute. That's it.
we'll get there at some point, but.
Yeah. Still not following you, but that's okay.
It's because you stayed in college longer.
Yeah,
That's why.
Taylor got the whole semester down, or what? You did 2
Yeah.
semesters, right?
Three semesters.
Oh wow!
Whoa.
Yeah.
I managed to
Genius
squeeze that
over
into writing. I wrote an article for Audi World, and I was talking about how I had my B5 Audi A4 when I went to college. There in parentheses, I was like, "Who wants an aerospace engineering degree anyway?" It's always fun for me to slide dumb stuff like that into my professional writing. But
Anyway, D bags. We love them.
yeah, big
Yeah.
D-bag enthusiasts here.
I used
Yeah.
my first one like on my level 3 flight actually, which Rocketry forum said that I was a big dumb idiot for doing, but it
I
worked
remember.
perfect.
Yeah, I
So,
remember that actually.
level 3 is not the time to be trying something new. So go back to your top flight parachute and fold her up, please.
Dude, I just spilled diet DDP all over myself because
Oh, you did.
I started
I'm here to
laughing
tell you-
mid-drink.
If you're a teenager and your dream is to use an unnecessarily expensive parachute with a deployment bag for your level 3, do it.
That you can't
it's
even
fine.
see because it goes out of sight and
that I
lands
literally
somewhere
have
far
never
away.
seen open before.
I can't remember what was it. Maybe you put it in your 4-inch Punisher or something. You were like, "I'm going to fly it slow or like low so I can actually see the chute open," and then you still didn't.
Yeah, but I got to see it on the sumo, so it worked out.
It was pretty cool on the sumo.
It was all right.
If you're gonna fly a big parachute, like say a 28-foot C9 military chute, put it in a deployment bag. You know how many of those we've seen not open because people just folded them like a giant Estes chute? Like, it's not that. It has 28, I think.
I think we
argued
said it was
this. Not
Yeah.
last
important,
time,
but 28-ish, like very long shroud lines, and they're gonna tangle.
and it's
Also,
such a
the-
thin parachute too that like
Yeah, it's like point. It's like 1/4 ounce nylon. I don't know what weight
it's like
that is.
crumbling up
Silk.
a piece of paper. It really
Yeah.
like once it's really folded in on itself, it doesn't want to open anymore.
The one of the other advantages of the deployment bag is that it like stretches it all out before it has it like opens. So I think it really slows down the deployment and also kind of helps it inflate. I think because it's stretching out the shroud lines neatly, not in a big mess.
A really good example, if you're interested, is if you go watch the Arcus flight video. I got a really good video of both those deployment bags working very
Yeah,
nicely.
I just watched that video last night. I think
It's so satisfying.
it is.
Yeah.
And doing two shoots, like the chance of us getting those to not tangle without using deployment bags would be, I don't know, it'd be more
Slim to
difficult.
none.
Yeah,
And then think if they hadn't opened when they did, it wouldn't have hit the pad.
Yeah.
it was satisfying because they were like so symmetrical.
Yeah,
They
it was
opened at
really
the same
good.
time.
Mhm.
Two identical shoots with the same bags opening at the same time. It's beautiful.
All right, well, we're going to move on. We're going to talk about our favorite parachutes to use, but first we kind of touched on electronics we want to fly, and we all cumulatively have parachute brand that we want to fly. Eventually one of us is going to land one, but we just want to give a quick shout out to Happy Shoots, the dude that makes the French fry, like the McDonald's French fry box parachute, and the Dunkin' Donuts,
yeah.
or sorry, the DD coffee cup, and the
Yeah.
not McDonald's French fries, just like a
I
generic
love
French
it
fry
so
box.
much.
And he had the Christmas tree parachute as well, which if I had more foresight on the Santa build, I would have ordered one of those for sure. Santa needed a K550 too. It would have been a waste to have that thing in there for that flight.
Yeah.
I really think Matt might do it for the Brahms rocket.
He's got to be the guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so
French fry.
appropriate.
It has good Matt energy too, so I think
I'm wondering if we came up with something that was even slightly feasible, if he would make us a custom one of something goofy. Like, what about a SpongeBob parachute, dude?
Oh my god.
Oh.
What if we get a SpongeBob parachute and we make a flying pineapple so SpongeBob comes out of it?
Oh my. That would be so good.
Dude,
What
that-
if we drag
All right.
raced each of their houses?
Oh my god.
Oh.
Dude,
Who's
Patrick's
going to build
house.
Squidward's
It's
house?
just a
That's gonna be
dome.
tough.
The Easter Island, I'll just 3D print it.
Oh, true.
The problem
I
is they
got
need
dibs
to be
on
big.
Patrick's house.
Yeah, Shane
Yeah,
just, like,
The dome.
just cut a ball in half, a foam ball.
Yeah.
All right, done.
What the Patrick parachute from the waist
Patrick's house.
Yeah, dude, man, this would be
Oh.
crazy. They would
He's
have
just
to be
like-
so big for the parachute to be like useful, but yeah, that would be
Yeah.
crazy. Okay, see,
Okay.
this is how all the AGG projects start, by the way.
Yeah.
Every anti-gravity group podcast or every anti-gravity group project was at one point a joke like that. And you already see
up. Yeah.
the gears spinning and things falling in
It's
action.
just-
So this
it's
is
just,
going to happen
what if we did-
eventually.
It's just haha, what if we did this? And then we realize, wait, that's a really good idea. Then haha, what if we did it more dumb? And then we're like, what if we just did it?
Dude, what if we had our own Porthos? What if we built a Porthos-sized Punisher? I think
Yeah.
we could. That'd be
Oh.
so crazy, it'd be so expensive.
Yeah.
And then, 3 months later, we were ordering parts.
Literally 3 months later.
Like, that was cool, but wouldn't it be hilarious to upscale a full-scale rocket?
I think we'd
Boom,
been
arc
joking
aside.
about it a little bit longer than that, but the joke started to get more serious. That was
Punisher?
the first time that the first time it had happened. Yeah, I think we had joked about it before that. Oh, when we build our Porthos.
I think,
But then-
yeah. I think it was kind of when, we were already on the same Gates Brothers page, but when Bryce kind of announced that he had got the Gates
Yeah.
Brothers stuff, and he posted the trailer 6 months or something before LDRS, where he flew
Yeah,
Porthos.
and we were just like, LOL, we could build a 12-inch Punisher, haha. And then
Wouldn't
we're
that be
like,
funny?
Oh,
We obviously
oops, I
can't
built a
afford
rock sim
that.
file, haha. This is how high it would go if we put these motors in it. Wouldn't that be dumb? Ha ha ha.
And then we did it. Then we put those motors in it. Which reminds me, a little bit of a plug here for a second. We're over an hour deep. I don't have to feel bad about this. The Punisher, we want to fly it again. We have a middle motor. We need outboards. Oh, wow. Taylor with the phone call. But
Sorry.
So we're working on merch. The Anti-Gravity Group Booster Club merch we thought was pretty fun because, Booster Club, but it's also a rocket thing. But I kind of wanted some input from you guys. So if you're still listening to this podcast, you can reach out to me at rocketvlogs911@gmail.com or just comment if you're watching this on YouTube or listening to this on YouTube. Ideas for, we were thinking maybe have a dedicated spot on the rocket where you can pay to have your name on the side, or if you own a company, we can make a whole fin dedicated to your company or brand or your name or your Instagram, whatever you want. But let us know some ideas, some merch concepts we have a pretty good handle on, but something that you would actually be willing to do, because as much as you can, just click on the link that'll be in the description of the video. I'm going to see if I can put it on Spotify, the tipping link and everything. It's a way to just send money directly to my PayPal and avoid the YouTube fees and stuff like that. It's way cooler if you guys actually get something out of it. Kind of like the name scrolling across for Patreon supporters and stuff like that. But yeah, so let us know what you guys think. I think even something like, you pay $10 and you get your name in the stack of names on the side of the rocket. I mean, if we got a handful of people doing that, that would go a long way. But we do have like $1,200 worth of motors to buy. That's kind of crazy.
What if you buy us a motor? We'll give you a shout out on the flight card.
Yeah, definitely. I was kind of thinking like the Steve Eves thing where there was like the graphic of all the motors and they would put the person's name on the motor that paid for that motor. Yeah, I mean, if you want to just outright buy a motor, we can do pretty much anything you want. But anything short of repainting the rocket, because that's really expensive. But if you want to toss out enough money, have the rocket be your entire flying billboard, get the thing wrapped with your company name on it, by all means, reach out.
If you work for, I don't know, Old Bay or something.
Right, yeah. Old
Or
Bay.
Manscaped.
Manscaped.
hit
Raid
us up.
Shadow Legends would be
Yeah.
awesome.
Yep.
But all right, let's dip into the final segment before we get to the mailbag here. Our favorite shoots to use, and I'm gonna go first again because I want to be the first cool person to talk about how awesome Top Flight parachutes are, because they're just so good. Like, I love fancy designs, parachutes. I love the simplicity of fewer shroud lines. But at the end of the day, when you just need a functional parachute in pretty much any size you could imagine, Top Flight parachutes just rule. They're cheap. They're easy. It's just like packing a big Estes parachute, but they still have the looped lines. So, there's 6 or 8 lines or whatever, but you only have 3 or 4 groupings. So they're not that hard to untangle. They do have a tendency on a windy day to pick your rocket up and take it for a ride, which is not my favorite thing in the world, but they're just dependable. Like, I've opened some pretty hard.
Top Flight are my favorite shoots that sometimes come with a kit. I will rarely buy one, but like if they come in a kit, then they end up in my box, and then it's now a shoot that I will use. And they're because they're like the best quality of like a standard flat shoot.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I do have to say though, I think above all else, my favorite is probably Sky Angle. And I think Chris Short is exclusively selling like the standard lineup of Sky Angle shoots now.
Yeah,
but
unless you want to get them straight from Pan.
They're super, super cool, and I am a little bit biased because the Cert 3 series of parachutes is like, it's one of those things that I was like so fascinated by when I was little. It's like, wow, imagine needing a parachute that big. Yeah, built such a big rocket.
I always use 2 of them.
Yeah. I love the designs and like especially all the like 90s-esque rollover colors. Like Taylor's XL is way cooler than mine. It makes me sad every time. And I bought a brand new
2 of them.
Cert 3 large. Oh yeah, and it was just red, white, and blue like my XL. I was like, dude, come on, I want fun colors. So if anybody out there has a fun colored Cert 3 XL and wants to trade for a red, white, and blue one, let me know. Mine might have some burn marks. I'll have to check. I don't know. I think it's been okay, but I'll
Quite a
I'll
sell.
let you know.
You'll sell your burned up red, white, and blue standard Cert 3XL for a nice multicolor non-burned one.
Unflown. It has to be.
But you can
unflown.
say it was from Rocky Blogs, so
Yeah. It kind of values it less. Like, I don't know. I'll give you this ripped up Cert 3 large. How about that? But
for big rockets, I love Cert 3XL. That's like if I have room to pack it, that's going to be what I choose.
yeah.
Regular Sky Angles, that's like I grew up with that being like the kind of bougie shoot, and so I remember buying one. I owned one. I used it. It was a Sky Angle Classic 28. And I flew that in my AMRAAM 2 always. The only downside is they're heavy, but they're really strong, especially if you get the Classic 2. So I needed a very specific size drogue for the big Sumo, and we also use it on the Arcus. And luckily, I found out Chris Short stocked the all the classic Sky Angle stuff. So I was able to buy a Classic 2 Sky Angle 44, which it uses 1.9 ounce fabric and it has the big lines, and it's just all those are good drogue shoots, really. So I'm way into it for that instance. They're classics compared to the other manufacturers of like the 3 or 4 line kind of parabolic type shoots. Those are heavier. They're quite a bit heavier. So if you have to like take that into account, if you're worried about weight on like a smaller rocket, like something that's going to use a 36-inch shoot or something, it will weigh more than probably any other shoot. But I still love them, and they spin.
Yeah, I just love the
Which is fun.
design. I think it's a weird thing where my love for Top Flight again stems from like growing up without a big budget for rocketry, and like yes, I can appreciate like Spherachutes. I have a Spherachute, and I always
Spherachute,
Spherachute. I don't know. Clearly, I guess
like a sphere, hemisphere.
Hemispherical. Yeah. I guess you're right. I don't know. I've always heard it pronounced Spherachutes, but that makes a lot more sense. But
I've
and
never
like
heard
the
it.
the
Okay.
Iris Ultra is like I've always been fascinated with that just because of the super high drag coefficient. But like at the end of the day, I'm always like, I don't. Why do I want a parachute that costs $200 where this $40 one will recover my rocket fine? If something goes wrong, I didn't lose this $200 parachute, and it doesn't have 16 shroud lines that I have to pack carefully. And if I put a little burn in it, then I don't care. It's just one of those things with parachutes. I'm just like, I don't care. And to be honest with you, largely what parachute I fly is decided on what parachutes I have recently bought used, because that is my like ultimate downfall is used hardware and used parachutes. Like anytime someone puts one up for sale, it does not matter what it is. It could be anything 29 to 98 millimeter hardware from any manufacturer, or any parachute like 36 inches and up, I will sit there and think about if I should buy it.
Yeah,
I don't
do
know
think
why.
about the parachutes. I'm like, I don't need it. I right now have 2 identical, except for the color, Sky Angle Cert 3 XLs. There's no reason for me to have 2, but I do because it was a good deal and it was fun colors. That's the only reason. It was like brand new, basically unused.
Right.
And it was a really, really good deal. I could sell it and make money off of it, but I don't want to.
Yeah, I've got a few Rocket Man parachutes that like I didn't pay full price for. I bought them used. I think I bought one from Rocket Man, and it was when I did a video on this channel, and Buddy gave me a discount because I was doing a review. But yeah, I just bought that box of like 16 parachutes on eBay for like $120 or something like that, and I was like, yeah, there's a bunch of Top Flight parachutes and like a couple Rocket Man shoots in there and an X form. But yeah, that's the way I like to. I just like to have a fleet of used parachutes that are a little crunchy or maybe a little burned up. The parachute in my 3-inch Punisher has so many holes in it. I just don't care.
Okay, so I like parachutes that don't have any burn holes in them. That's what I'm into.
Coward.
Doesn't mean I haven't had some absolutely destroyed shoots, but I like to burn my drogue shoots. Not intentionally, but it seems to happen quite a bit.
I don't really like. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I haven't flown enough variety, but I don't particularly have a like favorite brand or anything. But I am a pretty big fan of like the fewer shroud lines, the better. I just, for one, it makes it easier packing, and also it just kind of looks cool, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like the way they look. I also think those type of shoots have a tendency to drift less and not pull the rocket after it touches down. That's not always true, but
My friend,
they seem so much more stable under shoot that it doesn't swing so much.
my friend
Like with a
Justin
Sky Angle.
talked about the sky angles as if the spinning was like a decided design point so that it would drift less. And is that real? Is there any merit to that? Have you heard that before? Like specifically the drogue.
I've heard that, but
that
I don't know if that's
the swivel kind of the swivel and the design of the parachute like convinces the whole rocket as an assembly to spin, and the constant
I think
motion.
the chute's supposed to spin, and the swivel's supposed to keep the rocket from spinning.
Right. Ideally, but his whole point was that with the whole rocket like slowly rotating like this, it was a lot less susceptible to wind drift via the parachute, which I don't know if there's any merit to it. I was told this when I was like 14, but that kind of stuck with
I don't
me.
know.
But yeah, I agree that like the parachutes just look cool.
Yeah, I flew that AMRAAM 2 with the sky angle in it a lot on like H motors and went pretty high, and it's like it would just come right back down. So I have no like scientifical evidence to back it up, but it sure seems like when I put those type of chutes in rockets that like they drift less.
No,
is that not a word?
No. It might be. That's not the context to use it.
Scientific.
Yeah, there it is.
There we go.
You threw on a couple extra
Someone
letters.
cut that. We can use that clip somewhere.
There's those extra 2 semesters coming in.
No. I mean, you can use it to make
as
fun of me later.
Oh,
anyway,
yeah.
But yeah, I just because have you flown recon shoots, the Wildman branded ones?
I have one almost every size.
Oh, really? I still
They're
don't
basic.
I haven't flown.
They're basically the same as like the same design as a Sky Angle Cert 3, but small sizes.
Yeah.
Now, what I don't
Cert
understand is some of them have small lines, and some of them have like the big, like the tubular nylon lines, and some of them have small tubular nylon lines, and some of them have braided lines. So there's like inconsistent from like I bought some when they first came out, and some of them now, and so like there's a little inconsistency there, but they pack a lot smaller than a Sky Angle.
Probably just subject to availability.
What do you? Oh, I think they made maybe some revisions along the way, and it seems like the bigger sizes now use the tubular nylon, and the smaller sizes use the braided nylon. I don't really know, but I can pack them a lot tighter, so that's nice.
They look nice. Shout out to Jackie, who's like neck deep in sewing
and
Black Saturday parachutes.
They're a pretty good deal. The problem is I could use more overlap in sizing. So like there's some spots like just recently this week I ordered a parachute that I needed for a rocket because it's my small sumo because I broke a fin, and I realized with a big motor case in it, it's kind of on the edge because I had a Recon 30, which is rated for 4 pounds, but Tim never put like what the descent rate was on the website. Well, I finally found out what that descent rate is for like, oh, this chute's rated for 4 pounds. It's 23 feet per second. Well, that's faster than I would like. So
it's a little spicy.
The rocket weighs 5 pounds with the motor case in it, and like a burned motor. So
it's like 28 FPS.
But yes. And so if I go to the next size, which is the Recon 40, now I have a descent rate of like 16 feet per second, which is if I apogee deploy, that's more than I want. I want something in between that.
Buy another shoot release, dude. It's time.
I know, but
we probably should have touched on that with the electronics, but you know.
Yeah.
Well, I had one more thing that I was gonna touch on at the end here, but
go for it.
That kind of covers that. Well, I thought we were still talking about our shoots.
We are, but you know, I just mean go for it when we get there. We haven't heard from Postar.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah.
On what?
Parachutes.
Yeah, he said he didn't have a preference.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Or he hasn't flown enough, but
I haven't flown enough to have a preference.
You're right. I remember that now.
Yeah.
It's
been a long day.
I like fancy parachutes just because they look cool, kind of like what Bostart said. But I'm not into boutique shoots though. That
Yeah.
seems to
You
be
have an
kinda
Iris
hot
Ultra.
right now.
You use one for your level 3.
Yes. But that's it. And at the time, that was kind of Fruity Shoots. At that time, was kind of the only boutique shoot available. Now there's a few of them.
What about K&S?
They're gone.
There's a deep. Well, not really, right?
Oh,
He's back,
That's
just
right.
not as K&S.
Anyway, yeah.
Shout
I
out
really
Dragon
like
Rocketry.
the toroidal shoots, the Iris Ultra, so I will dish out the money for that. But I'm never going to put that in a normal rocket. It's always because I need something that will pack small,
Right.
Or, to save space.
See,
I have no interest in like the fancy elliptical shoot because I'm not gaining anything from it. I mean, they look nice. I mean, I like
Right.
seeing other people fly them, but like I don't want to spend the money on that.
that's where I'm at too. Like with what is it called? Front range recovery. Their designs look really good and they look like the amazing quality parachutes. But I kind of land the same thing where like I would buy an Iris Ultra if it was something that was like saving that weight in that space was ultra detrimental. But like with the way that you set up even a minimum diameter rocket now, like a head end deploy rocket now, if you have a 6-to-1 nose cone, there's a lot of space in there unless you're going real hardcore with like, I mean, some people are going crazy hardcore with like electronics bays halfway at the nose cone and GPS in the top section, and then you have 2 inches
Yeah.
for recovery and everything like that.
If you're doing standard head and deploy, a top flight thin mill is kind of like what I like.
Yeah.
But that being said, I'm working on minimum diameter rocket right now where like I want the Iris because I'm trying to fit everything in the nose cone.
For your 3-inch?
So, yeah.
I'm doing the same thing, but I haven't run into needing an Iris yet. Sheesh. What's Taylor hiding? It's oh, I know what it is. It's the U-bolts. You know,
yeah, you're right. Well, have you tried putting all yours together yet?
Nope.
Okay, well.
In my head, it's just a 3-inch Punisher nose cone, but a little bit longer. So I'm like, yeah, there's plenty of space up there.
You're not putting are you doing a cable cutter?
Maybe.
No.
Yeah, I was planning on it.
So are you gonna have a drogue or are you going drogeless?
I'll have a drogue.
So you're gonna fit a drogue and a regular main in a 5-to-1 nose cone?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, it'll fit. The problem is the shot cord.
You only need 1
inch.
Yeah, 1-inch nylon.
1 inch long.
No, I mean, Julian Rice, that's his last name, right? He built that liquid rocket that we saw at FAR.
Oh, yeah.
He's kind of opened my mind to how much stuff you can fit in a 3 or 4-inch nose cone.
Well, the other thing is, do you want to use a parachute that brings it down at kind of a legal speed, or are you just going to drop it like a brick?
It's fine.
Because I saw someone's minimum diameter rocket that they flew at far. Like if you fly it far, then I guess you could put a 12-inch chute in there, and that'll be fine.
I briefly considered just putting a tiny chute in there and just putting the main out of the top. But I don't want the fin to break off because I want to fly it on it. If I'm going to make it long enough to fit the 7680, then I would like the fins to stay attached so that I could put a 7680 load in it.
You could just put them on again.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to break off now.
I'm trying to make a rocket that I can bring down at an acceptable speed at any launch site and not break my fins off.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, I just am cool with bringing stuff down a little hot. Like 20.
Well, I mean,
23 FPS is I even went with that on my Iris.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm shooting for. I'm talking about 30 plus.
No, it's not gonna be that fast.
But you have to remember the motor case is super heavy. So
barely, bro, barely.
Remember how all of your rockets have broken fins?
Shut up.
Is this why?
Maybe you would have broken fins if you flew any or owned any.
Oh, this is like See,
Fair
this is
enough.
like what I did to Braden when we first met.
It
Yeah.
is true. Every time something went wrong, it's like, well, you wouldn't know anything about it because you don't even fly rockets. All right.
Only reason Braden flies rockets is
Oh.
because I bullied him.
It's kind of true. All right. Let's move on to the mailbag segment and bring this thing to the end. Bingus Bobby says, my favorite is Jolly Logic Shoot Releases. I used it for my level 1 in an Estes rocket. And yeah, that's, like I said, we should have touched on that for the electronics.
Yeah.
It's great. I love using mine. It's just really expensive for what it is. And coming
Yeah.
from doing dual deploy in an era before the Jolly Logic Shoot release, it's like, why would I buy that when I could buy 2 altimeters and some all thread for the same price and have a full blown electronics based setup? But it is really nice to use for like motor deploy stuff.
If I was more restricted on my launch site, I would definitely have one. But I'm sort of at the point now where I'm like, on a rocket that I would use that on, I'm just like, I'll just pop it at the top and go for it, you know?
I kind of wanted to use mine in my level 3 rock or my minimum diameter 3-inch rocket. But I know the history of people trying that, at least in this group, didn't end well. But I might as well double down. I already got the blue 7680 case, so
It just hurts losing that $150 thing. Like, I tried it once and just immediately lost it. So,
you gotta try it again.
and they don't pack super small. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, they
it's
do, but not in a minimum diameter sense.
right. Yeah, where a cable cutter is, less than 3/8 of an inch in diameter,
Yeah.
probably.
And you can just cinch it down with the zip tie.
But I got a couple of those today too. I haven't opened yet, but
Cable cutter?
the piranhas.
Yeah.
All
Those are
right,
pretty
well,
nice. But
good.
the original one I had was the archetype, and there were some like design issues with those. They worked, but you had to make sure you clean it really well. And I think the piston would get worn down. The piranhas are all stainless.
Wait, maybe
they're a little bit
archetype
better.
is what I bought. I don't remember now, to be honest with you.
I don't think they're available anymore. Tinder? They're Tinder?
I don't know. Well,
Yes.
I'll let
They're
you know.
probably-
Yes.
Oh yeah,
probably what
Shane
it is.
knows.
They're
All right.
Tinder.
Okay.
I brought the packages in.
All right. Okay, Alex says, I'm both a huge fan of things that are affordable and things that are incredibly good quality. Sometimes you get both, sometimes you only get one. For parachutes, I love using chutes from Top Flight. Yeah.
Yeah.
And from Front Range Rocket Recovery. Okay, first-hand experience, actually. Here we go. The chutes from Top Flight are incredibly affordable compared to some others. The quality is still awesome. Plus, their thin mill chutes are a dream for any head-end dual deploy setup. Dude, Alex really does just speak the exact same language as us, front and back.
Mm-hmm.
Front range chutes aren't cheap, but they're absolutely incredible quality. The nylon is like silk, and they pack so incredibly small. My 11-foot front range chute packs loosely into a 7.5 by 11-inch deployment bag, and it survived having hundreds of pounds of force on it to pull it out of a tree at LDRS. I assume that was in the Skinwalker.
Yeah. I was wondering if the chutes. I remember seeing that and wondering if the chute got messed up. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that is good to know. Michael Grayless says, I love Top Flight. They make a great product for a great price point. Also a big fan of the RSC2 Plus for the same reasons. Sure, there might be others that offer more features, but sometimes this altimeter is all you need. I find that most times that is all you need.
Yep.
UPS Rocketman says, love my RRC2s. The Jolly Logic has saved me a few times as well. I'm starting to play around with deployment bags and I love them. Dude, I know. I fully drank the deployment bag Kool-Aid. I'm in.
Oh. I meant to add earlier when we were talking about deployment bags that I personally think that the Fruity Shoots deployment bags are like the best on the market currently.
And they don't make big ones, even though we have them or have one.
If you ask very nicely, he might make you a custom one. But
It's not even
gonna be very
about
expensive.
asking nicely. It seems to be timing. Because you asked and you made us one, and then you asked again, and he's like, we don't make them that big. It's like, sir?
yes, but I eventually got through to someone else who said yes.
And then the price.
It's like if dad says no, go ask mom.
Yeah, I don't really know what happened there. I kind of just got quick, like I don't know if it got lost somewhere, but like the responses just like stopped coming, and then like a month later, I was like, "Any update?" And then I got like a quote, and then at that point, we found out that the rocket was too light to use that chute, and I was like, "Sorry, we don't need that anymore."
And didn't you immediately get a follow-up email saying that quote's wrong too?
Yes, I did.
He's like,
was-
here's the price. Actually, no, never mind. That's not the price. We'll get back to you.
Yeah.
It is super nice though.
So, yeah, super nice. The bags
line
have
stows.
everything you need. Yeah, it has the line stows, has like a leader coming out to it if you want to attach it to the apex of the chute. Has a loop on top to attach a pilot chute to if you want.
I have to say, I don't like the line stow direction on the sky angle ones.
Yeah, basically those I don't want to use.
Yeah,
They're,
I don't
like,
use them. My one
the good news
successful
is
use
if
and
you're-
my one unsuccessful use, I didn't use them.
The good news though is if you're using a sky angle chute in it, it has 4 lines, so you're not losing that much by just shoving the lines in the bag.
Right. Yeah,
but-
it goes in pretty easy. I know.
And you can get the Fruity Shoots bags come in lots of different lengths too. So if you're really trying to dial in the fit or whatever, and what's nice is you can, if you were, for instance, going to use a Fruity Shoots chute in there, they list the volume of the chute. I think Rocket Man actually maybe lists the volume of their chutes too, but not that you couldn't figure out the volume of a cylinder, but it's just kind of one of those things that makes it easy to kind of figure out, oh, what size do I need? Instead of
Right.
just getting, because it is annoying if you have a tight space and you're like getting, like the Sky Angle ones, just it is what it is, which if you have it in a big rocket is fine. But if like you have a 16-inch long deployment bag and your chute takes up half of it, like you have a lot of extra material there that you need to do something with. Anyway,
There you go. For you shoot bags past the fit check and the vibe check. Solid D bags right there.
yes.
All right.
Love a good D bag.
Jonathan Gabriel says this is a weird one, but I'm a huge fan of AGG parachutes. They're so silky and very easy to pack. I actually just got one. I haven't taken it out of the bag yet.
Oh,
I didn't know that Apogee had their own chutes.
They are very branded. I'll send you a picture of mine after
Oh
this.
no! Is there a big logo on there?
Yeah.
That's funny.
I run one in my 3-inch and 4-inch Punishers. Also really like Happy Shoots because it's run by my friend Joshua Drummond.
Yeah.
He does standard thin mill and custom work for all customers. Pumpkin shoots?
standard thin mill and French fry.
Yes, sir.
What'd you
McDonald's
say?
shoots.
Chunky.
Pumpkin shoots.
Pumpkin.
Oh, yeah, I remember seeing that around Halloween time.
I also have a Cert 3XL for my level 3, and it's cool because it only has 4 shroud lines. As for electronics, I like the Easy Mini because it's small, the RRC3 because of how nice it is, and the aux output for staging, and the RRC2L because of how simple it is, and of the data logging capabilities. And that's why I've wanted to step into an RRC2L, because it has, you can just plug the screen in and look at all the data right there, which is pretty nice. And I've heard that its speed data is pretty accurate.
How much does it cost with the screen?
I think the screen's like $25, so it's like 70 something all in, but the screen also works for programming the RRC3. So if you're going to do like staging with the RRC3, you can program the aux output with that as well. So it's kind of something I just could use anyway, so I was thinking about picking one up.
Wait, but it doesn't have accelerometer, does it?
No, it's just a speed versus time thing, but I mean that's how
Works
you
pretty well.
Yeah, that's how you find acceleration, right? That's the formula. So all you need is clean data, and every time I've tried to pull acceleration data or speed info from it's using altitude versus time, to calculate speed, and then the speed versus time for acceleration. So if you have clean data, it's great. But every time I pull the Stratologger data, it's got some weird like rocket hit negative 18 feet before it took off kind of nonsense that just like corrupts the whole field. So it's like, yeah, your top speed was 5,000 miles an hour. Nah, no, it wasn't. But hey, I think that pretty much sums it up on this one. What do you guys think? Any last comments?
No.
I mean, at this point, I could go on, but why? We're an hour and 40 in.
Yeah, this has been a long one.
Yeah, if you guys are still here, absolute champions. My name is Braden Carlson. You can find me on YouTube at Rocket Vlogs and Instagram at BigB1011.
My name is Taylor Jesse, and you can find me on YouTube at the Rocket Channel. What's so funny?
It's just the delay. I didn't set it up like usual.
Well, you glitched. You glitched right when you.
And my name
that is sorry, the Rocket Channel. Go watch the latest video. Anyway,
dude, 2 videos in 1 month. You're crazy.
Yeah. Man's pumping them out. But my name is Shane or Postart. You can find me on YouTube at Postart Propulsions. I'm still working on a new video.
Dude, Taylor's allowed to berate you now too. I haven't even posted a regular video so far this year, so I'm getting toasted over here.
I'm gonna try to keep him blasting. You know,
hell yeah! All right,
quality
thank you
down,
guys so
quantity
much.
up.
Yeah, exactly. I could tell by your microphone audio on the last video that's
Thank you.
prioritizing.
It turns out it was unplugged, and I didn't check.
So it's just like your headphone audio or like your webcam audio.
Yeah, I think it must have been like a webcam or worse, like the monitor speaker.
Yeah, it sounded like you were standing across your garage.
What's funny is it didn't. When I was editing it, it didn't occur to me. I was just like, "Why does it sound bad?" I don't know. We're gonna go on with it.
Yeah, well, we're learning, right? Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening, especially if you're still listening to this an hour and 40 minutes deep. You guys are the true champions. We are the Anti-Gravity Group. This is the Anti-Gravity Group podcast, and we will see you next time.